What's up? What's going on, everyone? Duncan, how you doing? Jess. Jess has been streaming recently, right? Give a shout out to Jess Temporal. It just scared you? Why? Because I because I started talking and you weren't expected? Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. I've done that before. That's like one of the scariest things ever is when you don't know you have something open, like video wise, and then it starts. And it could be like a YouTube video that starts playing for some weird reason, or you have a live stream and they haven't started yet. I should have played some music while I was like waiting. But yeah, that's terrifying. I'm sorry that I scared you. Yeah, you're welcome. Jess, what have you been working on recently? And any upcoming events or anything going on? Murdoch, welcome. This is, by the way, this is live on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. So I think this is my first time doing one of my streams, including Twitter as well. And we'll see how that goes. The numbers I feel like on Twitter are a little inflated. Like it shows like a high number of people, but the engagement is like totally different. So, or like much lower. I don't know. Xanthor says no kick. What do you mean? I don't know what the kick is. Clay, how are you doing? We've had a good amount of work on the Deals for Devs project recently. That's been a lot of fun to work on. So Primogen was on Twitter the other week and had like 10,000 concurrent watchers or something on there. Yeah. Yeah. His numbers are just wild. I mean, him and Theo both, their numbers are just wild in general. Like even before Twitter. And then I'm not surprised that they're kind of taking over on Twitter too. Isaac, what's going on? Isaac is the first comment I think that I've had on Twitter. I also haven't consumed a live stream on Twitter, so I actually don't know what it's really like to watch. So maybe that's something I should do to see what the experience is like. Jess been working on IoT stuff with MicroPython, trying to get a new device to go through device auth flow. That's cool. What sort of IoT stuff are you doing with that? And MicroPython, actually, let me look it up. I'm gonna ask you to explain it all, but there's a slight delay, but nothing too bad on Twitter. Okay. But like you can, I mean, you can see the whole thing, or like you can leave comments and stuff, like all the basic things. So MicroPython is a lean and efficient implementation. Isaac, I almost said your stream looks blurry, so I saw your background was blurred. Yeah, the nice bokeh effect on the camera or the lens. MicroPython, lean and efficient implementation of Python 3 programming language that includes a small subset of Python standard library optimized to run on microcontrollers. Okay, so the MicroPython PyBoard is a compact. Okay, so this is a version of Python that's optimized to run on microcontrollers. I assume is what that is, and you get something like a PyBoard to be able to talk to. Nice, I like it. I've like done very little to almost no work in microcontroller stuff. So here's my idea. Get the game in this little device called PyGamer and upload a score to a leaderboard. Oh, that's cool. You know what I would love to do? I want to have some things inside of my like slides for presentations that are interactive. I've said that for years and I still just haven't like actually sat down and done it. But I think that would be a ton of fun. So the PyGamer is like the handheld. Didn't y'all do some giveaways for this at Auth0 in the past? I think we had some in our house because Jess had a box that she was shipping out to people to give away, maybe, or something similar. But that'd be cool. Hallie Murdoch, if I'm sponsored by the soda, I'm not sponsored by this, obviously. This is Polar. It's a ginger lime mule. So it's supposed to be like a Moscow mule as a sparkling water, which is really interesting. It tastes pretty good. Like it's got similar taste to a Moscow mule. Moscow mule is not something I ever like choose to get, but yeah, it's good. I like a lot of different sparkling water flavors. So Xanthor, would I consider doing a format similar to Primogen, read articles and give your take on it? Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I'm still kind of finding my voice, and especially with YouTube videos, like finding what's working for me, I think has been a little bit of a struggle recently. So I've done a few videos actually, like kind of reacting to articles and giving additional takes. I don't think I'll ever be as controversial, to be quite honest, as Prime is, and I think I don't know, like that works really well for him. My personality, I think, is just different. I don't know him personally, so I don't know, but yeah, I actually love the idea of consuming content and talking about it on stream with people and giving my opinion. So yeah. Christian on YouTube, what's going on? Abyss, Cosme, YouTube. How's it going, everyone? It's really hard. I think I have a good personality, but translating that to streams on video is harder than you expect. Yeah, that's actually been one of my complaints about myself for a long time. Is I have so much personality around friends, and I often don't get to show that in my video content. And I don't know. Like I think Prime has found a really good way to do that, like to be authentic and kind of his true unfiltered self. And I just naturally kind of filter myself a little bit in video content because I feel like it, not like formal setting or whatever, but it's like, I don't know, it's a little more professional. And I guess part of that is I've done a lot of content for companies as well. So there's a difference in doing content for companies versus for yourself. But that's something I've talked about for years, is trying to find more of my actual personality in the content that I do. So Jess, I'm building pieces in different places, figuring out offlow on the Pimoroni Badger. These are so many things, which has an ESP32 chip, so it's Wi-Fi enabled. Now I need an API for a web app to receive the score and save it, which is the last thing I was working on last week. And next week, I need to deploy the app somewhere. After that, I'll get the Pi Gamer to talk to Wi-Fi. Nice, that's cool. What? So you can how do you tap into getting the high score from the thing they might play? Like, do you actually build the game yourself and then deploy it to the Pi Gamer, and then that game that you built has the code to save high scores? You could do a book club stream and have like a 1 hour convo with friends you feel comfortable. Yeah, that'd be fun. It's very similar idea to like the podcast. With the podcast is a little more like meet new people and learn new things, not just someone to like that you kind of already have that relationship with. So it's a little bit different, but I like that too. Review code execution and give alternative ways it can be implemented, or give advice on how to build stuff. That's actually something, a couple of things that I used to do some of with a friend of mine, Brian Robinson, we did code reviews and resume reviews, and we like had a website to take request. I think it was, I don't know if it's still up. Peerreviews.dev. Peerreviews.dev. That's what it was. Yeah, it's actually still up there. This is hilarious. So this website is still out there. This has been years, and we haven't done anything with it. It also has like, I don't know, just really old graphics and stuff. We actually did a lot of content on here. So we did design, resume, and code reviews, which I actually think like as a service is pretty cool. And I've thought about trying to revisit this and really turning this into something more. So we could see. So Jess, all I need to do is make a game like the ones on. Okay, cool. Yeah. So if you have the code, if you're writing the code for the game, then obviously you can write the code um, to save your high scores. Yeah, I love it. Also, I forgot that I wasn't sharing my screen when I don't know if people open the site, but this is what peerreviews.dev. This is like 5 years ago when I was just getting back into content. And we did a bunch of these videos. I don't know, did we publish? I guess these are all YouTube videos, I think. Yeah. So this is a review of a local launch code student. Yeah, I think there's something to that. I think especially a TikTok channel of James reviews. I think that would be cool. Who is this kid? Are you talking about me? What's up, Lacoste? Brian, the copyright of 2019 down at the bottom, just a few years ago. Yeah, exactly. And then at the time, like Learn, Build, Teach was a totally different thing than what it is now. Code Contemporary. I don't know if he's still doing anything. It's not even up now. Yeah, that's wild. That's funny. This It's deployed on Netlify somewhere, I think. 2019, yeah. 5 years ago. Is that counting or not counting the pandemic? Make it into a soundboard also, yeah. Oh, Duncan, on the topic of prom, I'm currently writing a script to extract every one of his outros and store them in a website as a dumb side project. We'll probably make a video about it. That's cool. I've thought about doing that for TikTok channels. So one good example of that, I think, that would be absolutely like so useful. It'd be so cool. Is Keith Lee? I don't know if people follow Keith Lee. If you consume short form content, you probably have seen his content. He's got I don't know, 16 million followers, and he's so cool because he just does reviews on restaurants, and he just does them very naturally, like authentically honest. And then what happens is he's so popular that the restaurant blows up like the next day. It's pretty wild. So the thing that I would love to see done is to parse through all of his videos and just list out all the restaurants and have that be searchable by like where they are. So like if I'm going to Atlanta and he's reviewed 10 different restaurants in Atlanta or 20 different restaurants in Atlanta, can I parse all those out from all of his videos and then do like a geo search on all that data to find the restaurants in Atlanta that he's reviewed? I feel like that would be so useful. Duncan, I was thinking about embedding the videos with a soundboard is probably a little more fun. That'd be cool. Probably wouldn't be crazy. Well, I don't know. Does anyone know? Can you access all the like? Does TikTok have a public API? I have no idea. I don't know the answer to that. I guess we could see TikTok API manager, TikTok for developers. Maybe not legally. Yeah, maybe not. Oh, I think this is scraping is legal just against their TOS terms of service. Yeah. So I think this API is actually for building stuff into the platform. I think is more what that is. So yeah. Anyway, this is pretty cool. I feel like this would really be a good thing though. 50% of my job is scraping. What a job. So I hope it's legal. It's legal enough. It's legal until it's not, I think, is how that works. Is that I don't know that that's great advice. Hopefully not. It looks like I can't post messages to Twitter, by the way. That's interesting. You tipped off the FBI. Now, yeah, now Duncan, you're screwed. Devin Sarah. Yeah, my next mixtape is legal until it's not. I love it. There's sites where you can enter a TikTok URL to download the video. If they can do it, so can you. Yeah, maybe they're just scraping. I don't know. Or maybe there's part of the API that does it. I don't know that either. Can I ask a question actually that I think is really cool, really interesting? So I have this multi-step form that I'm building for this demo application. So this is using Next.js, Zeta as my database, and then Kind for authentication. And this is my first time working with Kind. Full transparency, they're a partner that I've been working with, and adding auth in Next.js was super, super easy, exactly like it should be. But that's not what I meant to go to. Let's go back here. If you were doing a multi-step form, something like this. So this is for Potluck Pal, and then what we have, there's details that I'm missing there. What we have are three different sections. So we have like the main event details, and then we have the dishes that we want people to bring, and then we have on the last screen is going to be like search, like add people to the list. So like people sign up for an account, and then you can search who you want to add to the event inside of the app. So I think it's a pretty neat demo. How would you build this multi-step form? And there's several different ways that you could do this, but I'm really curious what people would say. And I kind of thought through a couple of different ways that people had mentioned and really felt like it was just more difficult than I wanted it to be, I guess. So I'm curious what other people would say. If you were building a multi-step form, how would you build that? Duncan, may use internal APIs from TikTok, like go to their site, view the network tab. You can see they probably, regardless, they probably proxy those API requests through their backend, which then has an API key to call Twitter or TikTok APIs if that's what's happening. So the actual network request probably wouldn't show you that much because they probably have to proxy that through their own backend anyway. They could be running Selenium to go to the page, fetch the blob, read the stream to a file, then deliver file to user. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. And they've got sites that do that for YouTube and all over the place. Have a parent and switch each component out as a child. So Saigama, you're saying all on the front end, so all in the client where we have a whole thing of states to represent all these details, and then we kind of show and hide which step we're on, basically all in the client though. Corey, what's going on? Glad you could catch one of the live stream sessions between meetings. Glad to have you here. What what are you working on these days? Anything fun? Duncan says, I personally keep one parent component where I nest all the pages and collect the data from the multi-step form, then handle form submission in the parent form. So Duncan, when you say nest all the pages, where is all of this keeping track of the data? Are you keeping all track of all the data on the front end, like in the client? And when you say nesting pages, do you mean like nested routes in Next.js or something like that? Yeah, on the front end. I don't know if I wonder if there's a way. This could be interesting. Corey, nope. Infrastructure and crunching away on a C++ project. That's kicked my butt. Fair enough. Talking conditional rendering. Okay. What do you mean? How? Depends how you want to handle the data. You can store the data in a session storage, then submit all on the final form page. Can't be a spa. Can be a spa. Tab, single page, different server pages. This is a very basic example that makes sense, or a very like obvious example that I didn't think about is just storing this in local storage until you get to the end. So you could have some persistence. Huh, that actually is really interesting to do local storage because that would be really pretty easy and just wipe out local storage after you actually save this thing to the database. Um, yeah, Brian reminds me of a project I did with React where you just keep everything in state, and then once you finish everything, you submit the entire form to your database at the end. Yeah. Duncan, yeah, exactly. I store in parent prompts. Actually, just completed a form like this yesterday. Doing it. Well, all right. So let's do this. Let's take a look at. Oh, this needs to be bigger. Now that I have people watching, I'm not just working on code by myself. So let's actually take a look at what I have. The only time session storage doesn't make sense here is if you need to upload an image or something. Even then, you can just store the uploaded image ID to session storage. Why do I have a hard time saying that? Okay, let's go. So we have in dashboard, we have the create page. Inside of here, we have the create event form. And I think this is probably similar to what you all are talking about. So I keep track of the current step that we're on, and I'll skip some of this and come back to it. And then I keep a mapping of our forms. So right now I just have two different ones, although there needs to be three of these. And I guess I haven't done that last part. So let me actually create under components and create profile form or event details form. I guess I need a event attendee form. And let's just stub this out with event attendees. Nikki T, what's going on? Nikki T has been streaming for a while as well. Let's give a shout out to Nikki T. Doing awesome work. Also working at open source with some amazing people. I'm jealous, honestly, of people that get to work on badass teams. Be seeing you at FE. Oh, CD. Yeah, you're going. We haven't talked about that, have we? I don't know. Keyboard, what are you writing in today other than TypeScript? Just TypeScript. Let's see. Corey, when I had to do this before, we would persist the disk on each page progression. We would persist the disk. Wasn't the most performant. I wonder what you mean by disk. But it worked mainly because we wanted the user to be able to come back anytime. I agree with the come back anytime. Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah. CD, cool. I'm looking forward to it. I'm getting excited about that. Yeah, that'll be awesome. Looking forward to meeting you there. People who don't know, this is the front end design conference. I'll be there at the end of April, so 25th, 26th. Also, I'll be speaking at PostCon, the Postman conference, which is in San Francisco. I'll basically go from Tampa to San Francisco, and I have a ticket. I may have sent the wrong link here. I didn't mean to send the register link. I just meant this. The URL, right? No, it's not. So I think it's postman.com/postcon. That link. Cool. Say hello to T-Pain for me. Absolutely, will do. Um, yeah, I actually have a free ticket, and I don't think anyone has responded to my tweet about this. Because you have to either be local or be able to afford your travel to San Francisco. But if anyone is in the San Francisco area and is interested in a free ticket, let me know. Okay, so we have the event attendees. Let's go back here and let me add in. I didn't know you could do this, by the way. This is kind of a neat trick. Um, Event attendee form, and then we'll give this a key of 3, and then we'll close that out. Did you know that you can just add components inside of like inside of just regular JavaScript, not JSX, if that makes sense? So I can reference these components. And what I did at first was I thought I would just like reference them like this, and they're not actual components, they're just some class basically. But if you actually use them as components, then you can iterate through them and then show the selected one. So in this case, I'm just showing based on the current step which one of those. So if I'm on the first step, which is 0 or 1 or 2, it'll show that appropriate one. So then I just swap this out. So I do continue just increments that value. This should have the placeholder now for event attendees. And then I have the progress bar on the left, and it is its own component, and it has current step and then how many steps, and then we just pass in the details of where we are, and so that thing updates, which I think is pretty neat. And anyway, so this is all tracked in memory, and the goal or the idea is that everything is going to come back through this parent component. And so you can see I have some of the data already stored inside of here. We'd actually have an items array, and then we would also have an attendees array. So that would be, I think, all the data that we would keep track of for the entire form. And then what should happen is as any of those nested components get updated, it would update the state that's in this parent component. So Kaviti is saying maybe define the array outside of the component. Where would you define it and why? Is there any specific benefit that you would do that for? Avesh, how to handle responsive design nicely. I guess there's no like easy answer for that. Design or like building with a responsiveness in mind, I think is probably the biggest thing. Making sure that you're testing on bigger devices so you can actually see what it looks like for different users of different devices is crucial. So yeah, very vague, open-ended question. Define the array outside of the component. Polypaint is a great tool for that. Nikki T, great shout out. Love that. Just above the create event form definition. Yeah, we could. I guess technically it wouldn't like recreate that every time there's a re-render. I guess would be the use case, the benefit. So it's probably a small benefit. But yeah, that makes sense. The other thing, this actually gets really, really tricky, by the way. Cool. Brian did something similar with React. Yeah. This actually gets really tricky because there's so many different things that you have to think about. You have to think about now, like, how do I handle these inputs? How do I make sure that they have valid information before before going to the next step? So that's the thing. Also notice I'm just like typing in strings for date and time because that's much easier for right now and location. Yeah, but keeping track of like how do I let the user progress through this is actually pretty tricky. Devin Sayre, designing mobile first is a good approach, but hard to get into when mobile isn't your biggest focus. Yeah, it's still something like whether you're mobile first or desktop first or whatever, you have to see your stuff being used on both. Like obviously you have to know how it looks. So I wonder, let's see. So if we have this handle change, I think definitely wrap it in a form. If it isn't, that way you can leverage validation. If it doesn't pass, you can prevent going. Yeah, so I guess that's actually an interesting piece. So, Nikki T, right now, I have the whole thing. So, if I look at not the event attendee, but event details form, this is its own actual form. Yeah, I don't know. Anybody else see audio video freeze? Maybe it's better to create array every render just for the inputs to get the right stuff. Let's see. Well, I think I actually will have to do that for a reason that we'll see in a second. Okay, but so it froze for a second. Hopefully back now for everybody. Back now. Cool. Thanks, Nikki T. Let's see. Brian, regarding form protection, ensuring you're getting the information specifically, can't you just use basic form validations? Um, oh, interesting. Cam might froze, but VS Code was still going. Yes, you can use form validations. And so I guess the way this would look is actually this is gonna be pretty neat. So one of the things I did is inside of the button. Oh, I didn't put the buttons inside of here, which is interesting. And that may be enough of a reason to change this. So how yeah, I think we just need to pass these handlers into them. Okay, so we actually want something like this. I think that's it. So let's just pass this into event details. So go inside of the form. And then in here, we don't need to check all this stuff because we know which form we're on. So let us just have this. We have no back button. So actually we can get rid of all of this because we're on the first page of the form. So we don't have a back button. We just have a continue. Does that come close to okay. And then handle continue click. And so what we'll need to do is inside of the parent page. I think we actually do need to move this down because we're going to pass in a function for handle continue click. Actually, this will be a property. And then this, I guess it could be the same thing. Handle continue click. And then we'll need to go inside of here and say props handle continue click. Can I get function definition for that? Oh, nope, not that part. This? Nope. Can I get syntax correct? Who knows? Okay, and then it's going to call this parent function, which will allow it to. Okay, so if we do this, then we have our full width. This should continue. It didn't. So we pass that in inside of. Oh, we didn't save this. So let's do continue. Okay, so that worked. So then on the um, items form, menu items form, we actually want this to be a form as well. And this has that. And then we can add in that same big thing that we copied earlier. And now we can get rid of these checks to see if we're on a certain step because we know what step we're on. And can I import that? And then this one, we don't need to publish. That's going to go on the last one. and then we need a handle back click and handle continue click. Handle continue click, handle back click, and oh, okay. So that yes. And then for this one, we'll pass in handle continue click and handle a back click. And these are all marked as so here's an issue. Does anyone know why this is a problem? So we have type of button, which by default a button is type of submit. Does anyone know why that's an issue here? Um Also, CD, does this work with user agents? Could I mimic a specific browser OS user agent? No, CD, what you're talking to something to Nikki T. I don't know what that question's about actually. Devin Sarah, you can do client side validation or even debounce backend API while the user is completing the form. Upon form submission, you still need to do a final server side validation to ensure nothing shady is going on. Absolutely. About Polypane. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what the question is about Polypane, but cool. I feel like y'all are probably figuring that out. Yeah, so Nikki T's got the answer here, by the way. Where the problem is, if I wanted validation on this, and I think I can prove this by I have an input of required for each of the inputs that gets added, but if I go here and click continue, it actually lets me continue because it's not actually doing a form check. Let's go back to here. So what you need to do is get rid of this so it's a default type of submit. And then do we only want to do validation as we go? Actually, this is an interesting question. Do we only want to have the validation happen with built-in like HTML validation if we're going forward, or do we also want to validate if we're going backwards? Because those might be two different things. My thought is we can let people go backwards and then we can have a type of submit on this one. So this is what's happening if they were to actually to press enter on here, and this will prevent it from um this will prevent it from we need to prevent it from actually doing the form submission. So what I would do is rename this property. I would rename both of these. So one tip, refactor rename is a great way to save yourself some code. So we can say go forward is this function. This will refactor that. And then we'll have go backward or go back probably is easier. Go back. And I don't need to or like alias those. They reference down there, but okay, so it didn't quite handle everything, but go back. And then I actually want to create a handle go forward. Yeah, forward. Or just like handle submit and then get our event there. Let's do e.prevent default and then let's call go forward. Yeah. So then when we pass in these things, we will call them go forward and go backward. Brian's saying, so for each step in the form, I would think you would treat it like a form submit. However, you're not actually submitting to the database. You'll only be storing it in the state local storage. Yeah. Then perform the final validation on, yep. Yeah, exactly. That's basically what I'm doing. Although I didn't have anything with local storage in place. So that I think is a great addition. Yarrick says, love your content. Thank you. I appreciate that. That makes creating content a lot of fun, to be honest. And then I want to actually do the same thing. So I want to have go forward as a function for this one as well. So let's see, go forward. Let's refactor this to go forward. Actually gets a little tricky when you make that work. But then the same thing needs to happen inside of the event details. This doesn't need the items. This will be a form. We will also have a continue button. This will be handle submit. We need to create that. And this will be a type of submit. So we actually are doing the validation before we go to the next page. So const handle submit equals, we'll have the exact same thing. Prevent default and go forward. Perfect. And then we pass in go forward. Right. Luke, what's going on Twitch? How you doing? Yark, I use React. Oh, React took form. And I think somebody, Christian said that. I would just use. Yeah. So is there anything, what in React took form would make this significantly easier? Would love to get your take on that. I think for individual, like manage values, like in a form, definitely. I don't know. Does that have anything built in to like support multiple pages or multiple forms, like multi-step forms? Oh, does it really have multi-step validation? No. React took form multi-step. Oh, that is cool. Form builder, handle submit, accessibility, advanced usage. It's like a step keyword. State machine, wizard form, funnel. It's common to collect information through different pages and sections using a state management library to store user input. Little state management with Redux. Is this what? Create your pages. Use state machine. Push to the next page. Huh. Okay. Let's see what this one is. So that's a good example. Choosing the form structure. Each step is a separate form with its own handlers and local state. Pressing next submits the data. Okay. The final step, all the data is shown and the users can edit. Okay. That's cool. We use React context for persisting state between steps and later showing the form data in the preview before submitting. So this is just creating a context with state. It's interesting that it's getting into like what are the router. Oh, this is React router DOM. So these are actually different pages. That's interesting. Adding the steps components. Submit, handle submit. Yeah, keeping that's actually really interesting of only updating the parent state when they submit, basically. Yeah, that may actually make sense. Right now, what I was trying to make sure I did is in the event details, I want to have my required again. Oh, I already have it. Oh, so I left those in, I think. Date and time, location, description. Okay, so everything is required. On click, we call handle submit. Oh, and actually, we want this to be like an on submit. We don't want this to be on click. Handle submit. Ah, okay. Did we do that correctly in the other one? We did not, I think. Where is it? Yeah, so we want this to be in our form on submit to call handle submit again. Same thing. And then let's uppercase the S. Cool. So now if I try, hey, that's cool. Continue. Continue. Yeah. Nice. And it goes. Nice. And then this should, yep. And even if I think is hopefully quantity, yep. Nice. Cool. I like this. And then continue after one, continue to here. Yep. Nice. How I don't know what how is this over? Oh, because this thing is so we need to have well, this will be fixed when we have let's go back. Now, do you think it's important for each one of these to be a different route? I don't know how important that is or not. Because this is all right now, I'm just swapping content on this route of slash create. And I would track everything and I could put it in local storage, but yeah, they can definitely come back. They would just have to come back to slash create. Christian says not important. Ricardo, what's going on? How you doing? If you're using React Hook Form, I recommend enabling their dev tools. I'm not using React Hook Form, but I might should. I wonder how much of this it would help me with. I might move to that eventually. But this part works pretty good. Let's copy over. So let's actually look at the items form, menu items form. And what I wanted, so inside of here, we're saying attendee uh, create event form. Let's say we have our items. And let's just keep track of everything inside of it. Our current step, handle change, total steps, add input field. We may actually still need that. Field and UUID. You know what I did earlier? I tried to do an automatic import and for UUID and or I tried to do automatic import and it's not UUID, it's actually an alias. And then I fixed it with Copilot. And then it gives me like a previous Copilot solution to this, which is pretty neat because then it does. Oh, let's see. Actually, that did not do the thing. What just happened? I don't know what it just did. Where was I? No. Oh, that sucks. No, that's not what I want. That sucks because earlier like handled this really well. Let's see. Implement. Oh, that's not what I want. So fix. Oh, so it doesn't save. Never mind. But it can go out and figure out like what people typically do for UID4, which is the import v4 as UUID4, I think is what they do. So it is smart enough to go out and actually figure that out, which is kind of cool. Um, yeah. So accept. Okay, and then we can get use state as well. So we have our items. It should start here. That's good. We can call this add item, and then we'll set items where we add a new one, and then we should be iterating through our items. So we'll have, I guess, that whole thing. So we'll have items.map and then that. And we wrap all of this. That one? This one? No? Wrap. I hate getting in this type of oh gosh. That's not another one, is it? No. Then you're just guessing, which is really gross. Okay, so where does that end? So can I do this? Da, da. Oh, then it's just the key prop. Okay. Key equals item dot ID. Someone is saying use indent rainbow on VS Code. It shows the indent colors. I actually so VS Code has some built-in stuff. I actually just turned that off, so it'd be easier for me to take screenshots in VS Code of code snippets to use in thumbnails on YouTube, which kind of sucks. Devin Sarah is saying, Lacoste actually before that is saying, I recommend rewriting the whole thing and Svelte. Fair enough. Devin Sarah, routes are important. Each approach has pros and cons. Same URL gives you a landing page, and the form can look at a local save data to redirect to where they left off. Different URLs gives the user the ability to go to specific pages, which may or may not be an intended behavior. Lacoste is saying, can't you use crypto.random UUID? Is that a built-in thing? Crypto? Is that just built in? No, no way. What is that? Crypto UUID? But not sure if it's the equivalent. Trey says I recommend rewriting the whole thing in Latin. Thanks, Trey. It's very fun. Trey, you missed out on a great round of golf this past weekend. Jess and I are ready to sign up for the PGA Tour, so be ready to play next week. I haven't talked about golf on stream, I think, in a long time. Okay, random UID is used to generate a V4 UID. Huh. Well, that's interesting. I'm actually gonna leave that up. That'd be a great like short on YouTube, I think. I had no idea this existed. Which I mean, I guess I could. So UID built in a Node.js instead of using. Oh, maybe. So it's in Node.js. Which how would? Wait, actually, I have multiple questions now. How is any of this code working? Because it's not. So this is client. If you say use client and then have nested components, is it assumed that all of those are nested component or client components as well? Yeah, I don't know. Stoney, what's going on? I just realized that I like now don't know the answer to that question. Because if this should, huh? Wait, am I crazy? Menu items form. This is not marked as UI, but I'm able to have an event handler that works. Am I crazy? Yes. Thank you. I would expect no less. Wait, how does that work? How does this continue button work? That's wild, right? Yes. How? Somebody? Now the downside, this is in the app router. Is the on submit on the form in JSX? That's how the submit. Yes, the submit in the JSX. The on submit is calling the function defined here, which runs front end JavaScript. How is that working if this isn't defined as a client component? Components which get imported into a client component. Okay, so they are naturally client components. Okay. That's what I figured was happening, but I didn't actually know that. And I think it would be good to clarify that as well. Yeah, that makes sense. Use. Yeah, that was kind of scary. Well, no. So, how would I don't think that code would work, right? Devin Sarah, while Node.js does have a crypto package, crypto random UID is actually part of the JS spec and supported by most modern browsers. Can I use random UID? Interesting. This is good because now if the built-in validation fails, the on submit won't fire. Correct. Yeah. Yeah, Nikki T, that's what we decided we wanted to go for. And now I'm actually wondering, How would you handle back button on here? Because it's actually already bitten me twice. Where from step 3, I want to hit back, and so I use the shortcut to go back, but then it takes me back to the previous page since all my steps are on one page. I feel like that's enough of a reason for that to be for these to be separate routes. You can have separate routes or hashes. Form step 1. So what does if you're not changing if you're I would go for the step hash. So that literally just changes the URL? So you're not actually like moving the page. You're just changing the URL? So I've never done this. JB, what's going on? So create event form. So in this form, when we say handle continue or previous, what's up, Jess? How do we just change add hash to URL Next.js? Like, is this just like JavaScript? Like, not a Next.js thing, but just literally change you're changing the URL, but you have state associated with it. But in that case, it's React. You can check the hash and reload the data. Is this what this is? Like router.push with hash? Hash. Am I doing this right? Yeah, you do router.push and then next step. So it would be step and then current step +1. Is that wild? I feel like this would be easier as multiple routes. What advantage do I get of doing this? And then in this case, this would be multiple routes are good for SSR. Well, I was just thinking, how does it like if I reload one of the page, if I don't have multiple routes and I reload the page, I have to go and check the hash. But you can still read the hash in SSR. Hmm. Huh, this actually gets like really tricky. So right now I have nothing. If I continue, no router instance, you should only use next router on the client side. Isn't that what I'm doing? Is that not right? Yes, client navigation, router push. Does this have to use router? Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah. And then we get that next navigation instead of okay, cool. I think using routes is better than using hashes in this case. I think so. I'm starting to think so. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. router.push path that starts with is not a function. Hmm. Okay. Oh, maybe it just doesn't allow that. So that was an example I saw. Maybe that's not actually allowed. So this would be hash and step one. Now I wonder. Okay, so that actually does just do one. Okay, so that is interesting. Keyboard Cowboy, I'm going to ask you a question. Pretend it's for your form, but really I just need to know something. How would you allow uploading multiple images at once and tagging one as the key image? Keyboard, what's the use case for that? What's the example that you're thinking about for that? So new, yeah, keep tell me some more detail about that so I can think about it. In the meantime, I am gonna skip this, skip that. Oh, interesting. But I think having I wonder how you would route. So in app, we could have dashboard, create. I'm just gonna suggest the most simple solution window like dot location dot hash. I think I want to get away from the hash though and have these be separate routes. I'm just wondering what the path system would be. What the path would be like slash. I don't know. Multi-step form Next.js. What are other people doing for this? I think this was one that was done all in memory as well. This is one where I got some inspiration from. When you say routes, are you saying for each step in the multi-step form would have a new path? Yes. That way you get to hit the back button, and on each one of those, they could be responsible for loading the data from that. But that does mean that we have to save all the information from local storage or in local storage by the time we get to the third form to submit, right? Because we have no so each individual step would be responsible for saving its data to the final. See, this is so tricky. So each individual step would be responsible for loading its data on a full refresh. Are you currently storing right now? It is in state, yeah. But I was thinking I might want to move away from that. Uh, hmm. Oh, keyboard cowboy. So you want to do multiple images. One is the cover image. Yeah. I don't know if you'd upload the images to a temp location. At some point, typically images just become a separate process from the actual form. So you can, and this actually works well for a multi-step form if the data is not connected to each other, is you can have a multi-step form where you have a regular, you have your, you could have your image upload gallery first, and you like upload all of those images and then get the IDs back, and then have that be in a form like a radio button, I guess, to select which one of those images you're selecting, and then have that be submitted with your actual form for the rest of the data as the cover image. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know, Devin. I don't know where you mean to store temp location. But you have to actually like upload those images. Brian, I mean, I would just say each group and state and then submit the entire data. You can also use states. Yes. So store, yes, I'm questioning. Well, if I have multiple pages and they go between pages, then I'm not able to just store all the information in state. I think at that point, the state would have to be local storage. I think. Yes. Temp location on the server, some DB marker. Leave yourself a way to purge uploads. Yeah, I think you'd have to have. Yeah, the purging of that is interesting. I think you could also like upload with a flag that says um used or whatever, and then have a cron job that cleans up the database every once in a while. Yeah, Brian. So I'm thinking I want multiple pages, multiple routes, so that if they hit the back button, they can actually go back. Actually, what happens? So if I just use the router or the hash, if I just use that, do I then do I lose the context? So if I do this, I can continue. I can go back, but I lose the context. Can you store state to go back and forth so much of a toggle? You just keep track of previous state change potentially, but the idea is someone could come to page 3 directly. They could reload the page on step 3, and then I think the source of truth has to be um source of truth has to be local storage at that point, right? And some people talk about doing this in a database as well, like where you create a dummy record to start. Then you can store an ID to that record in local storage. Type context provider. Now the final step, provider should return steps of the form. These are all, those are all different routes. Create forms using components, chassis in, creating the layout component. Layout would have, okay, so a layout, this is probably it then. They've already filled out the form regardless, or where they end up. That's what you would want, right? For them to be able to come back where they left off. Yes, absolutely. But if you if you reload, if you're letting them go back and forth between actual routes and then they refresh the page, you've lost everything that's in memory. Sony, I did install Dark Reader, and it's such a pain because I basically just found myself like not using it on like every page. Um, yeah, I agree. It made using, like if I had a stream mode or something where I could tell like I'm in stream mode, so apply itself, and I don't want to like turn it on and off every time. But I was getting so confused. JB on YouTube says Dark Reader is a pain, so at least someone understands. Yeah. So this is able to share state between the different pages because it's in a layout that has a context, and that makes sense. The layout, the code above takes care of wrapping all login steps. If any step component doesn't belong to layout, it won't be. Yeah, that makes total sense. On submit router push. I like it. The first step. That makes sense. Now, the one thing I'm curious about though is in this example, I don't think you have the ability to reload the page. This is actually a really good example. I just don't think this has the ability to actually reload the page. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's a great example though. And I'm thinking I would like to do something like that. I think. And what this the thing I was really interested in looking at was the different I was just curious about the naming. So login, step 1, step 2, step 3. And I guess I could just do like, oh, this is wrong. Oh no, that was the wrong thing completely. Rats. I guess this would be step 1, step 2, step 3. And each one of these would be a page TSX. And this would be step 1, page TSX. Step 2, page TSX. Step 3. Reminds me of stream. Had my phone number on there, really? Happens. I don't care. Text me if you want to. I got some disappointing news earlier. I thought I was going to get to make a trip next week to be in person for Cloudflare's developer event, which I was really looking forward to. And it turns out I won't be able to make it, which really sucks. I was sad. I was really looking forward to that. So each of these, and then what needs to happen is there needs to be a layout file inside of create. And then we could have the context from there. All right. I think that's the solution. I need to go and check on baby, but I want to work on. Yeah, Sony, just spam me on Discord. You don't need a number. I think that's the solution I want to go with. So what it will be is we will have create with a layout. The layout will have a shared layout will have a shared state context that allows us to update the overall state of the form for all 3 pieces. And then as an additional feature, the thing that does, so that multiple pages allows us to use the back button to go back through. And then since we're using the back button, we also are keeping track of that state as we go back and forth between the steps. The other thing that doesn't cover though is if they refresh the page, then that's why we need Devin Sarah, you've got it, where we need to store the data in local storage to be able to pull that up. So as they come to any of the steps, it will look into local storage. Actually, just when the layout is loaded, it will look into local storage to see if there's any data there. If there is, it will use it. If not, it will throw it away. And we'll be starting from scratch. Devin Sarah, so in memory, lost and refresh, in session storage, lost on new session, local storage, lost on local storage, cleared, DB. That's a lot. Stony, what sounds bad about that? I mean, the reality of this is like, this is a very intricate thing. Like multi-step forms are very difficult. Question is, do you want them to be able to resume on a different device? No, I wouldn't do different device. No, I don't think so. No. That seems like too much. That seems like a scenario that's very unlikely. I don't think I've ever done that where I started to fill out a form on one device and switch to another. I don't think that's ever happened for me. It's a good question though. Okay. These things are freaking complicated. Forums contain sensitive information. This doesn't. There's no sensitive information here. Only time I have is on Facebook. Wanted to access the image from my phone. Yeah, I could see that. Todd, what's going on? Todd, I'm actually on the way out, unfortunately. Quick fix, have a pop-up if they go to the refresh button that says finish the form first, please. Well, I mean, a lot of websites actually do that. Um, so it's not like, I know it's a joke, but it's not that far-fetched. My impeccable timing, yeah. Cool. I've only seen a few web apps where you could resume easily on mobile. Things like Twitter, user verification. Mobile is a better platform. QR codes to transfer a session. Yeah, that goes. That'd be actually interesting to maybe dig into, but not a first pass at getting this to work. So yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna run and I'm gonna raid everyone over to BBB is online. So I'm gonna raid you over to bald builded. So hard to say. Builded bearded builder. Who is Sony, you're always introducing me to new people. Let me check out Matty Two Shoes. All right, I've done BBB a lot in the past, so we'll try sending everybody to Matty then. So Matty TTY Two Shoes. Right? Yeah. All right, cool. I'll send everybody over there to Matty's stream. Thanks y'all for hanging out. Appreciate it. And I will catch you later. If you have any additional thoughts on how we do this, send me a DM or something. So we can continue to get the best solution. Anyway, see y'all.